welcome to the SciFirst MovieTalk episode. So in this episode, I'll be discussing the 2017 action film sequel, John Wick Chapter 2, the second movie in the John Wick franchise, as directed once again by Stahelski. The movie concentrates, or continues, never mind concentrates, it definitely does, but continues directly from the events of the first movie, with once retired hitman John Wick, as played by Keanu Reeves, looking to find his beloved Ford Mustang and return once again to the quiet life as he once was so inadvertently forced to leave, in order to kind of exact out his own brand of vengeance due to the actions of a number of brain-dead thugs that really kind of should have known better. However, more of the criminal elements start crawling out of the woodwork, looking to use John's unique services, this time holding a marker against him to which, given the rules of the underworld, he cannot refuse. With crime boss Santino Di Antonio, there you go, as played by Ricardo Scamasio, I'm having a terrible time here, essentially calling in an old debt in order to further his own position at the high table, a consortium of high-ranking mob boss types from around the world. Carrying out Santino's orders is not an easy task, and now goes against everything John is trying to be. But in order to be free of his obligations once and for all, John must yet again embrace the darkness within and re-enter the murky yet often sophisticated world of the criminal underground in order to pay off his debt. And, this is not a world which makes leaving very easy. Indeed, even if you do, you're never kind of truly out. So, once again, we step into the nefarious yet venerable world of John Wick, with explosively brutal connotations and more fight scenes squeezed and squenched into a further construct of motion art that simply never stutters without letting up. Now, for me, personally, the film didn't seem to have quite the same level of emotional involvement or heart as the original. It still brought John's personal anguish to the forefront, and still there remain strong links to the events that brought John out of the shadows the first time around. However, the first just kind of seemed to connect more in this way for me. It felt more personal, more intimate. The second, concentrates much more on the environment in which John exists, and builds this succinctly around him as we delve ever deeper into his despair. Less emotion aside, was it an absolutely amazing action film? Yes. Oh yes. No doubt there at all. And it's still packed with a strong passion and purpose. Reeves brings back John Wick as an absolute force to be reckoned with. If the first entry served to showcase Wick as a serious contender in the genre, this entry leaves you with no doubt at all. And although the dialogue may be somewhat kind of scant, he's not a man of many words, action-wise this contains much of the same grit and substance as the original. Wick definitely has much of the same style and swagger that made the character so iconic, and indeed feared the first time around. Proving Wick is an action anti-hero that can certainly stand the heat, and isn't afraid of a little competition, What this film does do is build the kind of John Wick universe from the seeds that were initially sown in the original. The world is built further in dazzling detail this time, and kind of examining and magnifying the mechanics behind the scenes, setting the rules and limitations further, and kind of putting together the spider web of intrigue that is the underworld's top brass, teasing their function, their membership, their hidden and overarching relationship to those on the ground. It has a tremendous non-stop energy, and the action, it's relentless. At one point, I'm sure the movie just turned into a one long fight. It was absolutely seamless, which was exemplary, choreographed with remarkable detail and played out like a tango. I'm not going to do it, but each part, moving with this kind of sort of fluidity and level of skill that kept the pieces bouncing and in play almost constantly. I'm not going to lie, at one point it really did feel like the fight had been going on for so long in one guise or another that I kind of did phase out a little bit. It didn't seem all that relevant anymore, and I did kind of feel a little bit desensitized to it all. Perhaps too much of a good thing? But it is certainly another suited and booted outing. All Wick wants is to be left alone. And he did warn them, he did. Just nobody ever seems to listen. And they never reckon on his ultimate resolve. They definitely should know better. What I would say is that the fights, whatever your take on them, happen in some pretty interesting and often spectacular locations. Definitely some amazing spaces. We certainly get to take in some of the sights. The whole thing feels like a gentleman's handshake. Again, it's all proper and above board. Everything's very polite and respectful. It's certainly an interesting moment when, after kind of looking to kill each other by the rules of the Continental, the hotel chain in which the criminal element can seek sanctuary, Wick and his adversary are forced to cease and take a drink together. It's all a very civilised affair. A distinct respect for each other's efforts, even if those efforts will see you on a concrete slab sooner rather than later. It's another brooding affair. When we're not being hunted, there's plenty of long, serious and deeply intense walks as Wick once again becomes the harbinger of death. And showing us that the pen, no indeed the pencil, can be mightier than the gun in a pinch. And the way we kind of leave things is certainly a tantalising accumulation of where Wick was inevitably headed. Overall, this is another slickly presented and smoothly executed action movie, proving that John Wick can hold the course, giving us a suited and booted action anti-hero with the style, presence and swagger very much ingrained and made so iconic with his first outing. It is a top-heavy film with action, perhaps sometimes too saturated for its own good, but it sure takes in some amazing choreography, set among some, absolutely stunning backdrops and locations. Once more, we enter the immersive, distinguished, if often brutal and uncompromising world of John Wick. And this entry serves to kind of further expand on the law, the rules, and the intricate relationships which had been initially teased last time we were here. Personally, I might not find this has the same level of emotional investment as the original, but it certainly has passion, its own ambition with a pure driven focus that's simply hard to ignore. So that brings me to the end of this episode. Many thanks for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed. If you have, please do leave a like. Please do hit that subscribe button for more movie reviews, trailer reactions and other movie related content. Absolutely loved having it at SciFirst MovieTalk. Definitely love to have you back. Most of all, just thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.